Well, speaking of case updates, you have a couple of updates for us, Jillian, on episodes that you have done in the past. So let's jump into those. The first one is the case of Jamarion Lawhorn. So, really quick recap there. This was the 12-year-old that stabbed a 9-year-old boy to death on a playground. He called 911. He said that he did it and that he wanted the death penalty. Investigators found out that he had been abused himself as a child, and he was, ultimately convicted. So I think you have some updates for us on that.
I do. So I think I told you in the episode, actually, I know I did, that every 6 months there's this hearing to discuss his progress. And those meetings or those hearings go until his 19th birthday, which happens to be coming up in a couple months here. And at these hearings, they discuss his progress. The judge asks questions. They may, loosen some of his restrictions and things of that nature. So once he gets to his 19th birthday, there will then be another hearing. And at that hearing, the judge will decide whether or not to keep him until he's 21. And then on his 21st birthday, they will then revisit everything. Or he can actually just be released. The judge can decide to release him on his 19th birthday. So the very last 6-month hearing was in December 2020. And Jamarion told the judge that he is ready to be released on his 19th birthday. He said, quote, "I just feel like I'm ready for something new." So Jamarion had been granted permission to spend the holidays with an advocate and her family, which he did. And that particular advocate has been attending his hearings, and she has offered up her home as a place for him to live when he gets out. And at that hearing in December, the judge asked if he would want to live there. And he said yes, that he loves this advocate. He feels comfortable there. And now the next step is that the next hearing is in March. And that is when he's going to be 19 years old. So that's a really big hearing coming up. So we will see what happens. Now, in my episode, when I spoke with the prosecutor, she did say that although she is on board with his rehabilitation and she thinks he's making a ton of progress and she's really happy with the track that he's on, she's planning on asking for him to still be held until he's 21. She just wants to make sure that as much, intensive rehabilitation that he can undergo, that he does. So, but ultimately it's up to the judge, and the judge's remarks at this last hearing in December were, quote, "I continue to be impressed and so pleased about how well you've done and are doing. Again, I thank you for your continued outstanding work here." So that'll be really interesting come March, and we'll, obviously talk about this again when that happens. But I'm interested to see if he's going to get out on his 19th birthday or whether or not they will hold him until he's 21.
Yeah, that's really interesting. This case was so heartbreaking because, like a lot of cases, there's no winners here. It's amazing the progress that he has made, especially because of his past abuse. But at the same time, when you're looking at the family of the victim, no justice will ever be enough for them. So how would they feel having their child's killer released? I don't know, but it's just something where you are proud and happy for Jamarion that he's making this progress, but then also remembering that somebody lost their lives, and there's so many families and people that are in pain because of it. So it's just really, really tough.
Absolutely, definitely.
All right, well, keep us up to date on that one.
Well,
All right. And also an update from An Unlikely Friendship, which was episode 119. So this was a case that was about two women who had allegedly tried to murder or did murder their husbands. So both women were convicted and became friends while we're in prison together. So what updates do you have on that?
So on December 31st, so just a few weeks ago, one of those women, Anita Smithey, who was convicted for murdering her husband, was granted a new trial. The Fifth District Court of Appeals found that a trial court judge erred when he denied her a new trial after her former attorneys made a mistake, which I'll get into in a second, that allowed prosecutors to introduce evidence that was what they say devastating to her case. So at her trial, Anita Smithey said that she had only shot her husband after he had raped her. Now, during her interview with police, she at first invoked her right to remain silent, but the officers ignored that and continued questioning her. So then she then told them that she had stabbed herself, because if you remember, she had stab wounds on her, because she feared that no one would believe that she had killed him in self-defense. Now, that statement was initially not allowed in at the trial, but her attorneys introduced the 911 call that she made where she says her husband had stabbed her. So because they had opened that door, then the prosecution was able to bring that evidence or that statement in. So the judge then allowed that statement to come in. And, prosecutors can either appeal this decision, of her getting a new trial. They can go ahead with a new trial, or they can drop the charges. So we will see what happens with that one. And thanks to one of my listeners for sending me the update on that one and giving me the heads up.
Awesome. And where will you post when you have updates on these? Do you post that on Instagram?
So I do. I post those on Instagram. I also, depending on, if there's actually a new trial, I would then follow the trial and then post it up on my Patreon. For the top tier, the judge tier, I post update episodes on there. And then, also in this little forum that we have going in these sidebar episodes, I'll also be picking a couple past episodes and giving updates on them. So you can either look at Instagram, join Patreon, or just listen here.